Hello everyone and welcome. And today we're going to talk about something that I think actually everybody can benefit from, A, mindfulness, but B, mindfulness with chronic pain. And I think also when we're talking about chronic pain, chronic pain normally is the fact, it's a thing that you have, you live with it, you learn how to manage. But I'm sure that all of us have some form of pain at some time. So I just feel this conversation, James, is going to be really helpful to everybody at some point. So I'd like to introduce James. James is a mindfulness practitioner. I think that's the term, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a number of ways of saying it, but that's absolutely fine.
Oh, is it? Oh gosh, what else would you say?
No, a mindfulness coach, practitioner is absolutely fine.
Is it? Okay. And we're going to do, which is quite exciting, we're going to do some exercises ourselves, so there is audience participation. Also, as usual, Q&As at the end of the session, so please start, if you've got questions as we go along, please start posting them in, that would be great. But meanwhile, before we kick off about understanding mindfulness, what it is, and I know we probably all have our own interpretations, and I think that maybe also different practitioners may also have their own sort of interpretation of what mindfulness is or the way they prefer to use mindfulness.
Yeah.
Chronic pain. Well, James, it'd be great to hear your own personal story, because I really like it when people have found these things because their own life has led them to practicing it for themselves for the better. So I don't know if you'd like to kick off with telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just good to spend some time arriving in the space. I know how busy everyone is at the moment. And I know how crazy life has been the last 18 months. And a big part of mindfulness is being present, being in the here and now. And it's one thing that we easily forget to do as we end up on autopilot mode or with things like social media, and we're always very busy. So it's really nice that everyone's here today and just taking the opportunity to just be. And for the next hour, I will offer some ideas of things that have worked for me and things that work for the people I coach. It might not work for you. There might be some takeaways, there might be some further questions. So we'll just see how it goes. So in answer to your question, so mindfulness, I'll give an explanation of what mindfulness is. So if everyone would like to hold out their hand, okay, and just follow my instructions. So if you begin by just studying your hand, so notice the veins or any of the bones, if there's any hairs on there, and then get your other hand and just touch that hand and see what it feels like. Really studying it. And then if you want to, if you think it's safe enough, also smell it. I wouldn't recommend any of the other senses, but smell it. So that exercise itself is an example of being mindful. So if we broke it down, so we were using the senses to be in this present moment, to study our hand. We did it non-judgmentally, so nothing was good or nothing was bad. And we did it on purpose. So the definition of mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment on purpose, non-judgmentally, and with a whole lot of compassion, especially when it comes to chronic pain and illness. And mindfulness stems from Buddhism. The Buddha was searching for enlightenment 2,500 years ago, and mindfulness meditation was part of that. But how it is in today's day and age is slightly different, and it's only been over the last 50 years where it's been evolved and implemented into Western society. there's an individual called John Kabat-Zinn who really brought it to the Western world, and he's a scientist and also a psychologist. And since he's brought it, there's been so many studies and papers around it and how it can benefit us. So the benefits of mindfulness is that it reduces stress, depression, it helps with chronic pain, it helps with irritability. And I guess the reason why I fell in love with mindfulness is, for me, it reduced stress. So my backstory is that I've always pushed myself a hell of a lot to succeed, and didn't really take care of my body, didn't understand my emotions, wasn't sure about how my mind worked. And I was probably about 11 years ago, I was in a relationship with someone, and I was just angry, I was just stressed at life. And I typed into Google, how to be less stressed. And up came this thing called mindfulness, and I had no idea what it was about. But I did some more research, and round the corner, I realized that there was a London Buddhist center in Bethnal Green, where I lived. And I signed up to a mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And over an 8-week period, I learned about mindfulness, the benefits of it, simple practices. And it just blew my mind. I had no idea how the mind worked, how the mind had evolved, not for us to be happy, but for us to survive, and how that impacted on us today. And I came away from it, and I started implementing it. And I have to say, the first 5 years, I was on and off, like this idea of sitting down in a chair and meditating for 20 minutes when I could be out with my friends or playing tennis or football or working, because that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it? You're supposed to be working really, really hard. You're not supposed to be resting. So first 5 years I did and didn't. And then, I started really learning more about it and implementing it, because I had a number of bad cases. I had 3 years of chronic stomach pain around that time of stress, and I noticed that the mindfulness was helping. And then 3 years ago, I quit my job, left London, and traveled around Asia, and learned a huge amount about meditation and mindfulness, which has changed my life, improved my relationships with so many people, and has brought me here today. And now I spend my time coaching people one-on-one on well-being, and some would say as a counselor, and also going into businesses and organizations and helping individuals to learn about mindfulness and simple practices for them to implement into their day-to-day lives.
Did you find, so 10 years ago, I'm sure, 10 years ago, the word mindfulness obviously was around, but it wasn't around as it is everywhere. And when you told your friends that you were, going to, did you tell your friends? Was there any sort of shaming of that? Oh no, I wouldn't tell him when I'm doing that at the
moment, or? There are a lot of misconceptions with meditation, especially in Western society, where it's all about drive and growth and progression. And around that time, you would be seeing things on social media around, I only sleep 4 hours a night, and I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I create this and I do this and the other. So the concept of non-striving and being present and just like be with your emotions, people didn't understand it, let alone talk about it. So I wouldn't say anyone judged me. When I spoke about it, they could see in my eyes that it really resonated with me, and there's so much truth in it. So they kind of just let it be. But I can't say back then people joined the journey. However, over the last 18 months, it's mind-blowing how many people are starting to meditate more, to understand the importance of mindfulness. Things such as COVID have had a huge impact on people's people's outlook on what life is about, and the importance of slowing down, the importance of being in nature. And it's really all come together. So it's one of the few positives in that mental health and applications like this are getting more and more popular. And you may have seen on Netflix, Headspace now have a TV series, which is brilliant, And Headspace is one of the most popular mindfulness and meditation apps in the world. And it's brilliant. And it was the app that got me into mindfulness after the 8-week course.
And it's just interesting. Did you find when you started on your travels, as you went sort of further, it sounds so obvious, further east, that people were more into mindfulness? Or did you see when you went through different countries, there was a difference about it?
Yeah, meditation in the East has been around for 2,500 years.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Being mindful and being present is a big part of their day-to-day activities. And just to give an example, so meditation, which is usually sitting with your eyes closed and focusing on your breath or a mantra, so a word, or scanning the body, is one part of mindfulness. But also a way to meditate is by walking. So the Buddhist monks around the world spend a certain period of time every day, and we could spend 10 or 15 minutes a day and notice a big difference. Mindfully walking, so noticing their feet touching the floor and keeping your attention there in a very non-judgmental way for 10 minutes. So very slowly, you won't be able to do it whilst you're running, probably trip up, but just noticing your feet touching the floor whilst you're on a walk. And little things like that make such a big difference in the Western world when we're so busy at work, or we've got these 3 kids we have to take around and we have to do the washing up. Just spending 10 minutes just as this habit releaser, just noticing the foot touching the floor, has such a significant impact on our day-to-day well-being. So yeah, things like that have been part of Eastern cultures for a while, but mindfulness and meditation in the modern era, it's not based on religion. It's not about hippies. It's schools around the world are instilling it. Prisons are. There's been so many studies by the NHS and other reputable healthcare bodies around the benefits of mindfulness. And there is a place, definitely a place for medicine, but bringing mindfulness into the equation helps it, and all of these bodies around the world are using it now in the modern era.
But I mean, it has to be, because we all know, mind over matter and all of those things. So we've known for a long time that positive thought can change how we think about things, and so this is then, I think, in many ways an extension of using your mind to support your surroundings and your mental health.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So one of the reasons why there's a lot of pain and suffering in this world is that we resist what's in front of us. So actually, the idea of always being happy isn't the best thing to do, because you're chasing that happiness and it never comes. As part of being a human, bad things happen. We've seen over the last 18 months how difficult it's been, how unpredictable it's been, with job losses, with people dying unwell, not being able to see loved ones. And mindfulness really teaches you to be present with that. So whatever the circumstances are in that moment, it tells you, or it invites you to just be with it.
Yeah.
And it's proven that by not resisting that situation makes you a lot calmer. So for instance, if we're in a traffic jam, okay, and a traffic jam is not great, especially if you're on your way to work. And suddenly, so that is what we call primary pain or primary suffering. So you're trapped in the car and you're going to be late for work. But then how you react to that situation can affect so much. So if you react to it in it's okay, like it's only a meeting, it's fine, I'll get there 10, 15 minutes late, then you'll go back to what you're doing, you'll put the music on, you'll be annoyed, but it won't ruin your day. But the second you react to a situation you can't change in a negative way with thoughts such as, I'm going to be late for my meeting, it's the end of the world, you start to feel angry, you start to feel annoyed, you're like, I'm getting angry, I'm hungry. You finally get to work. Could be that you're very annoyed at that person who you just walked into because of a traffic jam, which then it affects your relationship. So you can see there's a knock-on effect of resisting what is happening in the now. So it's not about being happy or it's not about resisting pain. It's just very gently and very softly just being with it. And it sounds like a paradox because we're told to take medicine to push pain away and distract ourselves. That's what my amazing father, he actually taught me, to decompartmentalize stuff. And it's not the right thing to do. What you should do is just gently turn towards that physical pain or physical stress, really gently. And you'll notice that it's not as solid as we think. We notice that actually it's the secondary pain of the thinking mind. Do you know what I mean? But the which is creating even more pain.
The awareness of it.
Yeah, exactly. So so you should be aware of it, but you shouldn't be trying to resist it. And it's so difficult to do because pain itself can be so challenging for many people. But if you can just over time to gently turn towards that physical pain or that stress and just sit with it, and you do start to notice it dissolve. You do start to notice it dissolve. And it gets to a point where actually the primary pain itself begins to weaken as well. So yeah, it's crazy. It hasn't been introduced over the last 50 years, but turning towards very gently pain and suffering as opposed to resisting it makes a significant difference. And I'm sure you've heard the saying, what we resist persists.
When you're talking, chronic pain, are we talking about, pain is that you can't actually touch, but you can't hold pain because it's sort of wherever it is. But are we sort of talking about physical pain or mental pain or both?
It's both.
Yeah. So looking through them, it's sort of, I suppose we are exploring pain by, do you explain to people how to start exploring pain? Because it's hard to just suddenly jump in at the pain. Do you sort of go around the circle of it so you get a feel of how big it might be and then start kind of coming in?
Yeah, on the courses that we run, we start by talking about mindfulness and meditation, and you learn things such as or primary and secondary pain. So you learn about it and you start to become aware of your thoughts through meditation. So you realize that you are not your thoughts, so you are not the pain. It is an object of your experience. And then when we start to turn towards the unpleasant sensations, which you have to do very gently, it's just, there's like soft edge and there's a hard edge. Okay, so you just turn gently towards that soft edge through a meditation which we guide, and just sit with it. And if it's feeling too uncomfortable and you're not sure, you can always pull back, and it's gradually just going in further and further, and keep just gently going in until you get more confident, and then you'll realize over time that it's okay, but it's a gentle build up. For sure. And we balance it out as well. So what's a really, and I've got many meditations, but what's a really good meditation is, it's called open heart meditation, where you let in, so you focus on the pain, but also you notice the pleasant things in this world. So what's fascinating, and one of the things that I find fascinating actually, is that our brain did not evolve for us to be happy. Our brain evolved for us to survive. So 3 million years ago, when our ancestors were on the savannah and they were competing with lions and tigers for food and shelter, we're so much weaker than them, those animals. Our smell is awful comparison, but we have three main things which kept us alive and has evolved and got stronger over time. The firstly, that's a thumb, so we could pick things up, we could throw. The second thing is the flight or fight system, so or freeze system, which is really important, the amygdala in the brain. And then the third thing is we have this, what we call a thinking mind. And a thinking mind is got very good at looking out for negative things. So looking out for that tiger who's about to jump on you, like, no, just like knowing where to go and what to do. And then you'd be planning for the future. So over time, this negative, it's what's called a negative bias, has got stronger and stronger. So, you know, people are like, oh, I'm always thinking so negatively. It's like, it's not our fault. Our brain as a human being has evolved in a way that over time, that's got a lot stronger and stronger. It's like Velcro. So your brain's looking out for negative things because back in the day, that helped us survive. The amazing thing is we can restructure the brain because of a neuroplasticity, creating new neurological pathways through mindfulness. So by practicing 5-10 minutes a day of meditation and noticing the pleasant things in life will change the habits, which is what it is. Autopilot is just habit. So by going into nature and spend 5-10 minutes noticing the beautiful birds, or when you're wearing a nice hoodie or a nice fleece, and genuinely just feeling that sensation on your body, which we don't notice. If we've got pins and needles in our foot, we'll notice it straight away because it's so painful. So our brain's looking after it, but we don't notice those small pleasures. So it's about bringing those little pleasures to life as well. And you can, and then once you do that again and again and again, you do rewire your brain. So, but this is all part of mindfulness, and it's fascinating, and it genuinely has changed my life as well as others I've spoken to, so many others.
Yeah, countless others. So now I know that you had a few exercises that you wanted for us to participate and do. Is it appropriate to go into one of those now, do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be quite nice to do actually just a short meditation. So I'll be a guided meditation for 5-10 minutes, 5 minutes, and yeah, I'll lead it, and then we'll just take it from there, really.
I was just going to say, I think I've got a long way to go, because as soon as I looked at my hand, I thought, I need a manicure, and oh my God, it's getting wrinkly and old. So I did both of the things that you said not to do, is to be self-critical and to think of things other than just what I was meant to be looking at.
Yeah, but you notice that you had those thoughts, and that's what's being mindful. So being mindful is continuously so noticing, oh, my mind's wandered, and then bringing it back. Wandered, bringing it back. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. The Dalai Lama, who's probably meditated for thousands of hours, he has so many thoughts. One of the biggest misconceptions about meditation and mindfulness is that you will stop all thinking. It's just simply not true. So the fact that you've noticed those thoughts coming up is brilliant. That's the magic of mindfulness. And then over time, you have to be really patient. Over time, that will change. You'll notice, oh, I've got great hands, or
great manicure, but not today. Yeah. Right, okay, I'm going to be serious now, and I will join in the meditation.
Okay, cool. So so during the meditation, you can feel free to sit or stand or lay down, do whatever's most comfortable for you. And if everyone could just close their eyes when they're ready. And if you begin by turning inwards and noticing how your body's feeling today. Remember, mindfulness and meditation is paying attention to the present moment non-judgmentally. So whatever you notice is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And how about you feel the bottom of your feet against the floor? Your back or buttocks against the chair. And during the meditation, which will last 5 minutes, your mind will wander. And that's what mind is supposed to do. So we're going to do a body scan up to the stomach, then we'll follow the breath for a couple of moments. So can you begin by taking your attention to your toes? Each time I give an instruction, just spend a couple of moments really absorbing what I've said. There's no rush, exactly where you're supposed to be. And notice your toes, all 5 of them, well, all 10. Do you want to move your awareness up your feet? Can you feel anything on the top of your feet? Then your ankles. What about your shins? Is there anything you notice there? Meditation is about relaxed alertness. Just really gently being present with the sensations in your body. And then your calf muscles and your knees. What do you notice? And then let's move up to the quadriceps, so front to the top of the leg, and the hamstrings of the back. And then move to your belly. And when you're in that space, can you notice the breath? If you can't see it there, that's absolutely fine. Is it in your chest? Could it be in your lower back? And once you found the breath, try not to change anything. Just let it be. What I'd like you to do is to really gently rest your awareness on the breath. As your stomach expands and then contracts, expands and then contracts. And when your mind wanders, which I'm sure it will, really gently take your attention back to your breath over and over again. Really notice the breath in the body and just focus your attention there. Focus it there again and again. Can you notice the breath in any other parts of your body? Is it expanding? Or is it just staying where it is? Whatever it's doing is exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Focusing on the breath. And if it helps, I invite you to count from 1 to 10. Every time it expands, go up 1 number. When you get to 10, start at 1 again. Focusing on the breath stay soft. And we'll now bring this meditation slowly to a close. When you're ready, start listening for any sounds around you. Notice the soles of your feet against the floor. And when you're ready, please take your time and you can open your eyes.
I could have had a real snooze then. And I have no idea how long did that, because I was good and kept my eyes closed all the time. How long was that?
It was about 5 minutes, 4 minutes. 5 minutes.
Do you know, I would have had no idea the amount of time that went through.
Do you know why?
Was I in the moment or something?
Yeah.
Hey. But funny enough, you said about the breath, because quite soon on, I suddenly felt myself doing quite deep breaths. I could feel my body moving because I was breathing.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
That's it. That's the magic. And it's just going back to that breath in whatever form it is, over and over again. I mean, the time we make up from meditating in our personal lives, it's fascinating. So it might sound a lot to do 20 minutes or half an hour every day, but the impact it has on our minds and our well-being, it creates like such moments of magic with our family and our friends. You really make up the time because you're present with them. You're able to manage your emotions better. You enjoy things more. And a big thing for me, actually, and I've seen a lot of my friends say this, is that they have better control over their thoughts, which ultimately means they don't need to escape as much. So as they don't need to lose themselves in TV or drink or drugs, or they're more accepting of who they are. They're more compassionate. And that's what I loved about mindfulness, is that compassion, it's that kindness, it's that the way I am now is exactly the way I'm supposed to be. None of it's my fault. It's all the conditioning that's happened around me. And mindfulness really helps just to give yourself that loving and that kindness and that time just to maybe gently break those bad habits, or find a little peace throughout the day. So, yeah.
And I suppose, and it allows you maybe to understand yourself more.
Exactly.
And I mean, I don't know, because obviously I'm somebody that doesn't practice, and I feel I'm embarrassed that I don't practice any form of mindfulness or meditation when I'm sort of surrounded by health and I know it's good, but I don't do it, and I feel that I must. But are you allowed to, when you are meditating, or I don't even want to use the word meditating, because for me that has many connotations of hippie and all of those sort of things. But if I'm just sort of being quiet and I'm sort of in the moment, are you allowed to? I suppose you are, to examine some of the things that your actions that you've done, and look at them in a way that you can learn from them as well.
Yeah. So on a couple of points, a really useful mindfulness practice is when you're making a cup of tea, and really just, because everyone makes a cup of tea, and just notice your feet just going from one foot to the next. So it's called mindful movement. It's just feeling that, like I talked about the walk earlier, but if you're not interested in the mindfulness, it's in the meditation itself, and just doing little things like that. So just going from one foot to the next and just noticing that a couple of minutes. That really makes a big difference. What was the second part of your question?
Well, it's just examining. So I mean, I think
examining of the mind, self-inquiry. Yeah. So you need, the mind is an interesting thing. one really important fact that we all need to remember is thoughts are not facts. Some thoughts, such as I need to go and get some dishwasher tablets because I need to wash my dishes because this, that, and the other, they're really helpful. But a lot of them, if you notice them, aren't true. And what can be quite scary for some people is that you start meditating or becoming more mindful, and you start to think, oh my gosh, all of these thoughts, where have they all come from? They've always been there. You just weren't aware of them. And then it's really important to remember, yeah, thoughts are not facts. Thoughts can't harm you. You can take your time by, if you're unsure about your thoughts, by speaking to someone. There's counselors out there. I mean, you can speak to me if you like. You've got friends, you've got family. And there's journaling as well, which I think journaling is really powerful. And in this, I guess, answer to your question is that once you become aware of your habitual thinking, and your habitual thinking that maybe hasn't helped in the past, you can start by writing things down, seeing how they play out. And it's a great way to process those thoughts, which maybe because you had an experience in your earlier childhood and your brain wasn't evolved enough to, or you didn't have just the outlook in life to really understand it, and you reprocess it by putting it down on paper. It really makes a big difference. Like self-inquiry, as you've talked about, so becoming aware of your thoughts is great. You don't need to analyze your thoughts, really. You can just watch them, and the thoughts that don't make sense kind of just dissolve. Awareness in itself about anything else, just being aware of anxiety, stress, chronic pain over time helps it dissolve. You don't need to do anything else. You can shine that light of awareness onto it, and over time, and with anything, this is an exercise. So I'm saying mindfulness, like you need to put the time in, 5-10 minutes a day over an extended period of time. They say after 8 weeks, you notice a difference. It may take longer, it may take less. The brain's a muscle. It's like when you go to the gym, where you start shoulder pressing, your shoulders aren't going to go like massive straight away. It does take time, but by turning the light of awareness onto these things very gently, helps them dissolve. So yeah, mindfulness itself is a form of self-inquiry, and to help process thoughts, you can write them down. For anyone who suffered from anxiety, and I have had really bad anxiety attacks in the past, and to a point where I couldn't sleep, and I've seen therapists myself, and they've been very helpful. One thing I learned was about, so you're waking up in the middle of the night, obviously don't look at your phone, or and straight away move away from your bed, and if it helps, get a pad of paper and just write down everything that's on your mind, and just write. And it may help. It's helped me, and it's helped others, just getting those thoughts out of your mind and processing them in a different way. So
I mean, obviously a lot of the Talkhouse community are people that do suffer with severe chronic conditions that lead on to severe pain. So for example, MS, fibromyalgia, and also things that people don't necessarily think about are, we have a lot of people with skin conditions that are, excruciating. The itch that you get from atopic dermatitis or eczema can be absolutely unbearable. And so what you're saying is that these are the things that if you do it slowly and examining it, you are almost breaking down the pain.
My brother suffered really badly from that eczema, and I've suffered really badly from chronic stomach pain for 3 years. So I fully understand. A lot of my studies are around this as well. There are two forms of suffering or experience. You have a primary experience, so you have the eczema and you have the pain with that, okay? And that's awful. What happens is that because of our mind and body relationship and how we think, we resist that pain. Naturally, you think you want to push it away, you want to take every medicine under the sun, and to a certain extent the medicine works, okay? But for a lot of people, not everyone, they think, I can't do this, I wish I hadn't done this experience. And as you know, by resisting something, you become tense. You start to, it's like, if everyone clenches their fist or loose their fist, clench their fist and notice their breathing with clenched fist, it's a lot shorter. It's not as deep as when you got to in your meditation. So our mind and how we react to that primary experience causes a lot of this secondary suffering. And what mindfulness does, it makes you aware of your thinking, and it cuts the cord a little bit earlier, so that secondary suffering reduces over time. Does that make sense? So pain itself is so complex, you'll have that initial pain, okay? But it's been proven a number of times that the secondary suffering, by kind of letting your mind wander, pushing things away, not being kind to yourself, that causes a lot more pain. So mindfulness helps, and loving kindness and self-love helps reduce it down to that pain. And they've even proven that for some people, mindfulness helps reduce that initial pain as well. So there's probably always going to be a little bit of pain or a lot of pain, but mindfulness helps with that second layer that is created through the thought and the mind.
And accepting, isn't it? It's being accepting it is there, as opposed to pushing it away, is accepting it to live with it and to understand it a bit more.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, and it doesn't make sense that we're told that we need to find a solution to a problem. That's what our analytical mind is about, finding a solution to a problem and doing something different, and not sitting with it. How does that make sense? But actually gently turning towards it. If you put your hand in a cold water, or you dip your toe in the sea, in the cold sea, your initial reaction, but if you sit with it and just turn your attention to it, you'll notice this underlying peace. And this underlying peace and just sitting with it prevents your mind going off and creating that secondary pain. And actually the actual toe doesn't hurt as much.
So have we covered what we were hoping to highlight? Exercises that increase mindfulness. So we've looked at a couple of those, and we've done the body scan. So I think we've kind of covered pretty much a lot of it. Was there anything else that you felt? Because I've got a number of questions to go through, and please do put your questions in now if you do have some more. But was there anything else that you wanted to highlight, particularly, James?
The final piece is in the puzzle is nature. I mean, spending time in nature is it's healing. We are made up, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, made of the same things as trees and the birds and the bees, and spending time in those cycles, it's just so powerful. Just being with nature and away from our phones. And I know it's difficult, but even just like 5-10 minutes a day will have a significant impact. And if you can incorporate mindful walking, or just spending your time just noticing something beautiful, which goes back to noticing the pleasures in life, which relates to the negativity bias, that will have a big impact. So that was the final piece, really.
Well, I'm gonna have another go. Right. So one of the questions here: when I meditate, I have to walk. I cannot sit still, which is one of the things that you said, is that you're allowed to walk.
Yes.
I'm glad you confirmed this. It's acceptable. My question is, how long and how often should we meditate? And this person said they do it daily.
Yeah, so it's been proven that every day, 10 minutes a day is enough. If you can do that for longer, that's brilliant. If not, then there's no problem. There are no rules to meditation. It comes in different forms. It could be listening to a sound over and over again. It's about bringing your awareness to that present moment, whatever that could be. And over time, it changes the structure of your brain. The amygdala, which is the flight or fight system, it gets smaller because the grey matter in the brain gets bigger, which means you can process things more calmly, which ultimately gives you more space to make a right response as opposed to reaction. So in answer to your question, 10 minutes a day, mindful walking, slowly noticing your feet touch the floor, would be enough, in my opinion.
So somebody here sent in earlier, I've tried meditation, but I couldn't concentrate. How do I create a space? And I suppose that space could be either a physical space or a space in our head.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So think about me. Yeah, I sometimes use earplugs. So it depends on what's distracting you, really. If it's external sounds, then earplugs are quite good. I use that, and obviously by letting your partner know or your kids know that you're spending 5 or 10 minutes on your own, that will be helpful. Thing with concentration is that if it's to do with thoughts, you kind of need to just be with it and know that it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, that your mind is wandering and that you can't concentrate. But just by bringing yourself back to your breath or your body scan or whatever, once is enough. And then the second time you do it once, and the third time you do it once in 10 minutes, but then the fourth time you might do it twice. And then you do it 100 times, and then suddenly you're doing it 10 times. So, but it is about consistent practice. So see the distractions not as a negative, see it as just part of your brain. Perfectly normal. It was for me, it was for everyone. But it's just that consistent practice of 10 minutes a day. It should make a big difference.
Can you practice mindfulness while listening to relaxing music?
Yes, you can. So that could help create some space for sure. As long as you have a point of reference that you're focusing on. So that could be focusing on the music, or it could be your breath. But yeah, that's absolutely fine. If that helps relaxing you. Another thing to do to help with your concentration is some deep breaths before. So yeah, like a couple of deep breaths helps quieten the mind as well. There's box breathing, which is 4 seconds in, 4 at the top, 4 out, and then you hold it for 4, and then 4, 4, 4, 4. And that helps quieten the mind a little bit as well. So yeah, that's absolutely fine, as long as it's not like rock music or anything too loud.
What are your thoughts on daily affirmations? Do they really work? And I suppose that's sort of maybe similar to writing stuff down, I suppose, but when you were talking about writing stuff down, it was more about getting the stuff out that might be worrying you, as opposed to the affirmation side.
Yeah. Positive self-talk. I mean, I think it works. I think one thing that always comes up in my mind, I see like happiness coaches or happiness, like it's so normal as human beings to be unhappy. Like, there's so many complexities in this world. So sometimes I have reservations about positive affirmations because we start believing that everything should be positive. There's certainly but like positive self-talk is important. Like before this, I said to myself, because I was a bit nervous, and I said to myself, I'm really excited, I'm really going to enjoy this. And I did notice myself relax a little bit. So yeah, they can help, but I think it's just not making them a religion as such. So that and when suddenly you feel negative after a positive affirmation, don't get your hopes down. It's just being life as a human, really.
Have you enjoyed this? Now we're doing it.
Yeah, it's been really good. I loved it.
sometimes I feel like true mindfulness is lost because it's been used by, oh, this is so true, by big brands, influencers. You know, it's just out there, and it's one of those things that you should be doing. And there's me, as she's saying, and I feel ashamed that I'm not doing it, you know, because it's one of those things. What resources can I use that promote genuine mindfulness?
Yeah, it's such a hot topic.
Mm.
Materialistic spiritualism, I think. It's people have used it because it sounds good. It's like it's like spiritual washing. It's like greenwashing. So in terms of, so yeah, as you can see, I've gone quiet because it does resonate with me and it frustrates me a little bit. But I guess it's good that it's out there. I think people are talking about it, and you're right. You need to find the right resources. I think a brilliant resource is Headspace.
Yeah.
The Headspace, the app, was established by Andy Puddicombe. It was a first mindfulness app. Andy Puddicombe went through a huge amount of suffering. I believe he lost his partner, and then he quit his job and became a monk, and then learned about mindfulness meditation and thought, right, I want to bring it back. There's a place for this in this Western world. We all need to slow down. So, and then he created this brilliant app, which is very easy to follow, and you can use it on your Android or Apple phones. And he's very genuine and authentic. Other people to listen to on YouTube, there is Tara Brach and Sarah Salzberg. They're and Jack Cornfield. They're like and John Kabat-Zinn, who is the person who brought mindfulness to the West. I'd start with John Kabat-Zinn. He's brilliant, and he's very genuine. There's no ego involved, and if you just stay with him, and look out for Jack Cornfield and Salzberg and Tara. It's either Tara Birch or Tara Brach. I can send these through, but they've got many followers and they talk from a place of authenticity. So yeah, they'd be the key ones. And also follow @AMindfulEarth on Instagram because he's quite good as well.
Oh, does that happen to be your website?
No.
And I think probably that's a really good place to finish. In fact, a good place to finish is somebody's just posted, it's been a great session. Thank you so much. Well, you know, I haven't got my glasses on, so I'm actually going to make it up if I'm not careful. Thank you so much for your honesty. By the way, the nerves didn't show.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Who said that?
Well, lovely people. Well, lovely memories. And then that's been really enjoyable. And I feel like I do feel like a calm, and it sounds really naff, but I do feel like a calmness. So yeah, thank you very much, James. And I hope everybody else enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, it's not naff. Like what I'm like, calmness is our natural state, and it's a wonderful place to be, and we should try and spend more time there, and mindfulness does take us there. So I've really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care. Bye, everyone.